Shanahan era and come away with the victory, moving them to 7 wins overall this season, 7-4. The loss sends the Cardinals down to 3-7. The final score, 41-22. Niners with the victories over the Cardinals.
There you go, the final call from Glendale, Arizona, where the Niners beat the Cardinals 41-22. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. Wrapping things up here for the 49ers and the Cardinals. They sweep the season series against the Cardinals and now have guaranteed themselves a winning record in NFC West play. The final NFC West game coming the final week of the regular season here in 2025 against Seattle, who, by the way, fell today to the LA Rams, a missed opportunity on a walk-off field goal. It was going to be a deep shot and a long shot anyway for Jason Myers, but ultimately they lose it 21-19. Adam Copeland and JD with you. JD, lots to get into. I'll ask you just first and foremost, what stands out to you in this one? The return of Brock, Ricky Pearsall comes back, another huge day for Christian McCaffrey, and a big day for George Kittle.
Yeah, huge day for George Kittle. He was somebody that we were looking at in the pregame show as somebody that could have a big day. Brock Purdy, I thought, was really solid, 3 touchdown passes. But we talked about the most important thing coming into this game at the beginning was for the 49ers to get off to a good start. And I don't think you can get off to a better start than a 98-yard kickoff return on the opening kickoff of the game to get to the 1-yard line, and then you punch it in right there to go up 7-0. And it felt like the 49ers, they get the punt, and then they go down, they score another touchdown right away to get up 13-0. So just an excellent start. The offense did their thing. The defense gave up a ton of yards but won a lot of key moments. The 49ers were by far the more buttoned-up team in terms of penalties. The Cardinals just a mess of penalties today, and key penalties that took points off the board or took big plays away from them. And so the Niners, they roll in this one. A very appropriate and what you would want to see kind of a win for the 49ers.
Yeah, a huge win, a high watermark in points scored for them, which is nice because, I mean, really what we talked about all pregame show was could the 49er offense with the return of Brock Purdy be enough to carry the defense? And what we both said is we think they need to be somewhere like in the top 10, but somewhere near 30 points. I mean, there's only 2 teams right now in the NFL that are averaging 30 points a game. But what you said was 27 points, and that's kind of the range I was in. You get to coming into the game on the season, they were averaging 22. If you get to 25 and a half, you're a top 10 team. So it goes to show how few points you'd have to score. It's one more possession a game where you're putting up points in order to be a top 10 team. Today, 41 points. And what's interesting to me, what stands out to me, JD, 41 points scored. The 49ers only saw 9 third downs on 12 drives today. 9 third downs on 12 drives. They only converted 3 of them, but they scored 41 points. And it's not like they had a defensive touchdown. But if you told me the Niners would get no sacks today and win the turnover battle 3-0, I might have thought you were crazy. I mean, Jacoby Brissett had thrown nearly 170 passes without a pick coming into this one. He'd been sacked like 12 times in his last 3 games or something like that. And the Niners, for the first time, turn it over twice this year on interceptions and also don't get to the QB but put up 41.
Yeah, and to not be able to get pressure but still to be able to take the ball away, I thought was huge. And, yeah, Jacoby Brissett, NFL record for completions in a game with
pretty
47,
incredible. Yeah.
which is just amazing. But the 49ers able to pick him off a couple of times. They forced the turnover on the goal line there with the Cardinals potentially going in. We talked about the penalty that took a 60-yard touchdown run from the Cardinals. So the Niners just played big-time football today, and their energy, I thought, was a lot better at the beginning of the game as well. And when you play with a lead, I think it gives the defense that might be up against it a little bit most weeks, it gives them a little bit more margin for error. It always helps playing from ahead. Teams are a little bit more panicked. They feel like they have to maybe throw the football a little bit more, and you can, even if you can't force turnovers in terms of sacks, you just put the pressure on the opposition to have to be perfect, and I think that's where teams can have mistakes, and that's where you as a defense can make some of those mistakes and force some of those turnovers that basically turned this game into a blowout, even though the 49ers, Copes, didn't win time of possession. And you look at the total yards, which doesn't tell any of the story of the way this game played out, because the Niners were comfortably ahead really the whole game. 488 to 281 in favor of the Cardinals, yet this game was a blowout for most of the second half.
Well, you look at the drives the 49ers needed to score. I mean, you pointed out that, the kick return yards don't totally come into play there. 98 yards on the opening drive. They started, to your point, you said they had to start hot. You said they had to start fast, really. But they started as fast as you could have started. Again, they're up 7-0, 16 seconds into the game. So it's pretty funny in the third quarter, to your point. At one point, I yelled to the guys here at the studio. I said, dude, have you guys looked at the time of possession? It's 22-11 or something like that. It was the Cardinals up because they'd had a few long sustained drives, to your point, losing a ball at the goal line. They had a disastrous end of the first half as well. You pointed out the 17 penalties for 130 total yards. But in the first half, GD, 11 penalties for 81 yards, and maybe none more crucial than the interception that Jacoby throws at the end of the first half to Malik Mustafa. The 49ers then march down to not really get into field goal range, but Eddie Piñeiro's got a chance at a 62-yard field goal attempt. The Cardinals block it. They get called for a penalty. 15 yards, they get to move it up to the 49ers. And then with virtually no time on the clock, it's a very manageable 47-yarder, and the Niners go up 25-10. And the Cardinals at that point are thinking, okay, if we can get a stop before the pick, they're thinking, if we can score a touchdown or get 3 points here, we get the ball back with an opportunity to get back in this game in the way sort of the 49ers fell behind last week, and we're thinking about that same opportunity against the Rams. But it was 1 foot forward, 2 feet backward for the Arizona Cardinals today. And the Niners, to your point about being buttoned up, not only did they take advantage of the scoring opportunities from the turnovers by Arizona, but they had 1 penalty for 15 yards. I mean, not only did they shoot themselves in the foot with 17, 1 penalty for the 49ers today.
Yeah, and it was the Renardo Green penalty.
It was a post-play penalty. It wasn't even an on-field penalty, really, right?
Exactly, where he was mixing it up with, I think it was McBride, he was mixing it up with, and they were going at it, and then he ends up getting called for the penalty. The 49ers ripped him out of the game at that point. He came back in. He played well after that, but it was one of those, you can't have that type of a penalty in a game, especially I think when the opposition is making so many of those mistakes. But, yeah, it's interesting. The one penalty was a headlining type penalty that ended up allowing the Cardinals to score 3 points, and it felt like it had the potential to really be a momentum swinging penalty to the negative if the Cardinals had been able to punch it in and be able to score a touchdown there. They didn't. 49ers hold them to the field goal. It's 19-10, and then they close the half, not by lapping, scoring at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half, but by getting those 6 points there to close the half with the interception mixed in between. And that really, I think, is what allowed for the 49ers to be in a comfortable position at the half. But then they come out in the second half and they put the game away. Field goal, interception, touchdown, 35-10, Brock Purdy to George Kittle there. And it was just off to the races from that point.
Well, it was all taking advantage of opportunities they were given, which at times this year they have not done, leaving opportunities on the field. Again, they didn't see a lot of third downs and have to convert a lot of third downs, but not even the turnovers. I mean, we can talk about them scoring off the turnovers and the Demo interception that goes all the way back to the 14. And Justin Allegri on the call said, dude, you got to punch this in here. Or it may have been Tim Ryan who said, you got to make sure the defense feels like you've taken advantage of what they've done for you. And I'm all about that. That sort of momentum swing that stays with the defense. But how about the Cardinals with, in my mind, a questionable decision to kick the field goal or attempt the field goal on their third drive of the game, a 58-yard attempt that then puts the 49ers in pretty damn good field position. They go 52 yards for a touchdown. It ends in CMC's second touchdown of the game. I thought that was like I didn't really understand what the strategy was there for Arizona, but the Niners made them pay for it, and to that point went up 19-7 after missing that extra point.
Yeah, that was a questionable call to be sure. At that point, maybe you punt, you try to play a little bit of defense there. And I think the Cardinals probably felt in that moment that, hey, there's going to be a lot of points scored. You need to try to get points basically on every possession. But that truly did backfire and allowed for the 49ers to really grab that early control at 19-7.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. The Niners blow out the Arizona Cardinals. They sweep the season series. It's a 41-22 final. Brock Purdy returns and is as sharp as can be. Who'd have thought we'd be calling for Mac's name, not because Brock was inefficient, but because they were up so big that you need Mac out there to finish the game. He ends up taking the final couple of knees for the 49ers. We will talk about how tight the offense looked in this one. Still some things to work out defensively. I think there were still some definite holes here for the defense as Jacoby Brissett ties an NFL record and sets an NFL regular season record for 47 completions in a game, 47 of 57. He was dinking and dunking, and he hit some good deep passes, too. There's some things the defense will have to work on because you got another quarterback, a scrambling quarterback in Bryce Young, who you're going to see next Monday night. He threw for over 400 yards today in an overtime victory for the Carolina Panthers. We'll talk more about this one. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. The Niners moved to 7-4, a high watermark, 41 points, 41-22. They beat Arizona, the sports leader.
Towards Sky Moore, takes it to the 3-yard line, far hash, brings it up the field, gets past the 25 to the 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, has one man to beat, it's the kicker, Sky Moore on his way down to the 5, diving for the pylon, and he can't get in, marked down at the 2.
That's how the game started, by the way, before butts were in seats, before, JD, were you comfortable? Were you ready to go? Were you all geared up for kickoff? I mean, you have to be in this league. As Sky Moore takes it back to the 1. Dude, I know you were, dude. I know you were ready to go for this one as it starts. Go ahead.
You know, what's funny is I had a few friends that I just, in a group chat or in an individual text, I would say, I said, wow, and they're like, what? And I go, did you see the play?
Yeah.
And they... A couple people thought 125 kick as opposed to they got burned by the 105 kick as opposed to the 125 kick and hadn't flipped over from some of the other morning games yet.
Yeah, well, who got burned more, your buddies or the special teams of the the Arizona Cardinals as Sky Moore lights him up on the opening kick?
Yeah, it was the Arizona Cardinals, and it's interesting because I feel like Sky Moore's been close to breaking a couple. Brian Robinson's been close to breaking a couple.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds, because he's not exactly the most fleet of foot, but that was a big time play to get the 49ers off in a completely opposite direction than the way that game started last week against the Rams.
Well, JD, it was a completely different start to a game than the 49ers have had all season. Again, one play run, 1 yard, and it's a touchdown for CMC after the opening kickoff return, 98 yards, and he just misses getting into the end zone, does Sky Moore, but still electric nonetheless. And it was a huge way to start the game, as we talked about them starting fast. And again, 6 plays in, they're up 13-0 after, by the way, the second extra point attempt by Eddie Pinheiro was blocked. Let's get into our difference maker of the game, sponsored by Benjamin Moore Paints. Experience the Benjamin Moore retail difference at our independently owned authorized retailers today or at benjaminmoore.com. Did you think the offense looked all that much different? I think a difference maker in the game might have been the way it started, because it's almost like, to me, JD, it felt like a starting pitcher coming off the IL. He hasn't thrown in 3 or 4 starts, and you put up a 3-spot for him to start the game. Now he gets to come out in the bottom half at home, and he's like, okay, cool, I can settle down. I can just feed the zone and not worry about guys making hard contact. Brock was, no rust, it seemed like, whatsoever. Seemed as sharp as ever, and it had to be a good feeling to have a 7-0 lead the first time he's got to drop back and throw a pass on drive 2.
Yeah, without a doubt, and it was a situation, too, where he sailed his first pass a little bit toward the sideline, but then he hits the 3rd and 8, 3rd and Juwan from the 20 for 25 yards there, and then he changed the play. I thought he looked real – it took him that one throw that sailed away. The 3rd and 8, how many times have we seen him hit Juwan Jennings for a big gain, convert on 3rd down, pick up a 1st down, and then on the Kittle touchdown pass, that was an absolute freaking dime to Kittle. He changed the play at the line of scrimmage there and then hits George for 6. That was the moment where I was like, wow, all right. Knock the rust off at about 2 plays. But to your point, you play from ahead. You don't feel like you're putting too much pressure on yourself to have to make something happen, and you let the game kind of feel and flow to you, and I thought Brock was able to do that. Couple of questionable 3rd down decisions from Brock. He threw a couple of balls that were kind of up for grabs on some 3rd downs, but all in all, great return for Brock Purdy.
I don't think you can ever talk difference maker. We do it each and every week. The Niners have 7 wins now. Brock Purdy's played 3 games. They did it with Mac Jones and Chicken Wire and Bubblegum. Are we doing a difference maker here and not even mentioning a guy who's named Christian McCaffrey, dude? 13 carries. He went 6.2 per carry on the ground today. And we should point out, for the first time this year, the 49ers have a run of more than 20 yards. It's not really more than 20. It was right at 20, but McCaffrey did it in sort of that put-away drive for the Niners. He goes 3 total touchdowns. He's still, by the way, at this point, exiting Week 11, having played 11 games. He now leads the NFL, or continues to lead the NFL, in scrimmage yards at the conclusion of his game today, 1439. His 74 receptions are second in the NFL, behind only Jamar Chase, by the way. He's ahead of Puka Nacua, who's played 1 less game. He's got 121 scrimmage yards today, 3 more touchdowns, and now 9 of the 11 games this year, he's gone over 100 scrimmage yards. Yes, he's the difference maker. It was just sort of like he's the given, and then who else can we talk about today, JD?
Yeah, no question. And George Kittle, I think, deserves a nod, too. And they didn't even have to give it to McCaffrey 20 times between rushing it and throwing it to him. He gets 5 receptions, 13 carries, so 18 total touches in this one. And it was enough. And they were mixing in Brian Robinson. They were giving McCaffrey full series off a couple of different points, and maybe that's because they were ahead. Maybe it's just part of the plan. I kind of wonder, with Brock back, does Kyle Shanahan believe that because he's got his QB1, he can maybe allow McCaffrey to get a little bit more of a rest? Do you need to lean on McCaffrey more with Mac Jones out there? Whatever it was, the game script allowed for a pretty comfortable 49ers win, and it didn't feel like today was one of those games where the 49ers had to overextend Christian McCaffrey in an attempt to get the job done, which, quite frankly, rarely ever feels like it's the case.
Well, if you handle business early like they did, and taking advantage of the opportunities given, like we said, the early kick return, they brings you down to the 1. The interception in the second half, you definitely have to take advantage of. The mistake in the interception at the end of the first half that they get points out of and take advantage of. And the 62-yard attempt, or what was it, a 58-yard attempt, that the Cardinals attempt. Was it a 58? Yeah, it was a 58-yard field goal attempt on their
58.
third drive. After, by the way, they got a great kick return from Greg Dortch, and they just kind of spoiled it. Give props to the defense there for sort of snuffing that out at midfield, and then the 49ers take it the other way for a 52-yard touchdown drive, but they took advantage of what was given to them. And so late, you don't have to sit on guys like McCaffrey and ask them to grind it out because you did the business early. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals in the first half. A first half that went 7 drives for the Niners. Took a long time.
Yeah, and you look at the end of the day, 41 points. We talked about that 27 number. They got their 27, and then they got 14 more, basically, because they were able to – and look, conversions were not the order of the day.
No.
Eddie Pinheiro, and we'll get to the injury there. That sounds like that could be something that could keep Eddie Pinheiro out here moving forward.
I laugh not because he's banged up, because you just can't – 49ers just play whack-a-mole with issues every week. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, dude, not only did they handle the kicking problem, they handled it in the best way possible. Eddie Pinheiro is now 22 of 22 in field goals made and attempted this year. He's had a couple of missed extra points and a couple of blocked extra points, and she said we'll get into that, but they may have another whack-a-mole situation here where Eddie Pinheiro left the game with a hamstring injury, and the irony that at the end of this game, they're up by the number they are, like 41-16 or something, and they've got to go for 2 because they don't have a place kicker there to kick an extra point. I was like, just let Juice do it. Just let Thomas Morstead have a crack at it. I was like, it baffles me why teams just won't even roll their punter out to attempt an extra point, but you'll let a quarterback and a running back get out there, and who knows what happens on a snap? Who has any idea? If you get some non-contact or somebody gets blown up, it's such a risk to me. It's so funny they don't even bother with the punter.
No, I'm with you on that 100%. So they end up with the 27, but the 2 touchdowns that really turned the game into the blowout, the touchdown they get off the Demo Lenore interception, and it looked like he was going to be able to make a house call on that one, coupled with the beginning of the game when you get the 98-yard kickoff return, you're able to get an easy touchdown right there to Christian McCaffrey right off the jump. So the offense did the job. The offense got their 27. It'll go down as 41, but the offense got the 27, and then they got 2 extra ones, it felt like, based on the long kickoff return, and then the interception was basically turned into points in addition to that.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. I want to talk more about the defense in this one, what we saw, because we did get a look, by the way. Nick Martin did get a chance to get out there, not because he had absolutely worked his way onto the roster here, but they needed him. I mean, a lot of banged-up guys in the linebacking core yet again, a core that's already pretty thin. We'll talk more about that. It was the healthiest-looking 49er offense we've seen all season long, and it led to a tune of 41 points plus a couple of big defensive plays. The Niners win the turnover battle 3-0. They are 4-1 in division. They're 7-4 overall. Still just 1 loss in the NFC as they got a couple of big NFC tilts coming up. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 to the 49er faithful and the KNBR listeners out there. Does this game make you feel any different about the 49er offense? Are you feeling better that Brock's back? Still nothing huge from Pearsall, but it did feel like Brock had this offense humming on all cylinders today. 808 KNBR is the number to call and to text. We'll get to your thoughts, and we'll talk more about this 49er offense and defense next on The Sports Leader.
I mean, it felt good just to get into a rhythm for sure and hit the guys and have some big gains. And then to hit that one, it was like we're playing. We're in an NFL game. A good throw on to George, and he completes it. Like, it just felt good for, my confidence and everything. Outside of that, man, it's football. I've been here before, and it was just trying to settle back into, who I am and how I play quarterback.
That was Brock Purdy. Nice to have him back out there. Offense was humming today for the Niners. And again, it felt to me like a visiting team in baseball or a home team in baseball coming out and putting up some runs for their starting pitcher, and he gets to just sort of settle in and hit his guys. Juwan Jennings, we knew before the game, and at the end of this week, it said it was great to have Brock back out there. Said it felt like he was getting his guy back, and he definitely looked good. And I think that's something we should hit on too, JD, is it's not just that Pearsall came back today and that you're getting a full look at the offense really for the first time. It's that the last time we saw Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, and George Kittle on the field together, let's not forget that Juwan Jennings hadn't been with the team for all of training camp and preseason, right? He had the calf injury that he was dealing with. He had the contract situation that they were somewhat dealing with throughout the preseason. So even early on, they weren't totally all up to speed. And then Juwan was kind of the only guy out there once Ricky went down, and when Kendrick Bourne becomes a factor, and when Kittle goes down. Juwan was a big factor for them in New Orleans. But remember when he was listing off those injuries a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, the shoulder and the 5 broken ribs, and I got the ankle, and he was catching 2-point conversions. He was really the only guy. Everybody kind of pointed, and Larry Krueger was one of them today to us, saying, hey, this is another guy that should benefit a lot from not just only Brock coming back, but having to not be the only blocking and receiving asset for this team alongside Kittle, who, even though he's been back for a few weeks, still has to get up to speed, and he's looked really good. But I think Juwan Jennings needs to get some love today and get some flowers today for the way that he played. He had a rough kind of game first half last week, the fumble, had a big penalty on that same drive, and then sort of redeemed himself. But he said after the game, won't happen again. I think he's thrilled to have Brock Purdy back, and he looked pretty good today to a tune of 40-something yards. What do you have, 4 catches for 40-plus receiving yards?
Yeah, no, it's
54.
Pretty good, and I think ended up with 54 and the 25, and I thought one of the biggest early plays in the game was the third down conversion for the 25-yard gain. He looked a lot healthier today, seemingly, with Brock Purdy back and throwing the football and looking for him. But the Niners overall, I think, on that side of the ball, it just looked like they had weapons today. It looked like they had balance today as well. They could pass it to set up the run. By the end of the game, they're running the football. They're didn't convert on a lot of third downs, but they picked up a couple of key ones, but they didn't have to. They were still able to move the ball, and it felt smooth. And it felt smooth a lot with Mac in some of those games because he had played well, but it just felt like everything was on track for the 49ers offense, even if you look up at the end of the afternoon and Brock is 19 of 26 for 200 yards. I mean, that's somewhat pedestrian. The 3 touchdowns is big, but a 133.5 quarterback rating. It seemed like his numbers were greater than that, to be honest. And I think that carried a weight throughout the game, which allowed the 49ers to just remain in control throughout most of the afternoon.
I'm with you. I thought he was just as efficient and just kept the offense humming. And I know people will say, and they have said this, well, he needs people around him. He needs players around him to be excellent. And I would say it's hard for guys to elevate the play of players around them, right? And it's hard for guys to do it when you have guys that you don't have the same chemistry with and players who, Kyle pointed out to Derek and I earlier this week on Dirty Work that he said, not only was it big to get Ricky back in practice, he said he was the only receiver we had with us like all offseason. Right? They didn't have Juwan because he had dealt with the calf and whatnot. So even if they were there for part of training camp or part of preseason, said Watkins had then gotten hurt, then you bring in a guy like Demarcus Robinson, but then, he's going to get suspended, so you didn't have him the entirety of the offseason, the training camp. He was a bit later of a sign. You don't have Ayuk. You traded Debo away. Like, it was a work in progress and to make sure you had guys out there. And so I think it was a big deal for them to get somebody back with the familiarity of the offense. I would like Ricky to be an impact player, but not everybody's going to eat in a day where you score 41 points. Obviously, today was a McCaffrey day and a George Kittle day. But I'm with you. I think if you don't notice, if Brock's not doing anything spectacular, but he's operating the offense to a tune of picking up first downs when they need to, and to your point, a couple of big plays early in the game. That 25-yard catch by Juwan Jennings helped set up that second scoring drive to George Kittle. Was a pretty impressive pickup for him early on third down. Do you feel differently about the offense than you did coming in?
Coming into this game?
Yeah, coming into this game. We talked about needing to get about 27. Do you feel different coming out that they're a team capable of doing this regularly, or was this more a product of the team they were playing against?
I think they are capable of doing it regularly. No, I think some of it today was a product of the team that they're playing against, but I think you look at, they've got winnable games coming up here, at least the next three. Now they're going to have to play well to win those games. The Panthers won again. They're 6-5. The Browns darn near beat the Ravens today. They played a pretty good defensive game today at home. The Browns at home, typically, they grind it out. They forced a couple turnovers. They were laying wood to the Ravens at different points in that game, so that's no easy game there. And then, obviously, the Titans is the one that the 49ers are going to have to get. But I look around the field, and Brock looked in command. Brock looked healthy. That's probably the number one Brock takeaway. Brock looked healthy.
He looked normal. Yeah.
We immediately, and maybe he is dealing with some soreness or whatever, and it's just going to have to be managed throughout the rest of this regular season and potentially in the playoffs. But he looked comfortable, which he did not look in the game against Jacksonville, to the point where everybody could see it. And by the end of that game, it was like, oh, well, he's going to have to miss some time, like, to get this thing right.
Sure.
So that's the foundation. But then you have McCaffrey, who you can run it with and throw it with. Then you've got now Jennings looking like he's feeling better. Now you've got Pearsall, who's at least a threat, and they did take it easy, I thought, on Pearsall in terms of the percentage that he was included in the game plan and time that he was on the field and those kinds of things. Didn't get targeted a lot, only the 3 targets. But I think when you look at it top to bottom, and then you got Kittle, and you've got balance. You've got a running back, you've got a tight end, you've got a couple of wide receivers, and you've got a quarterback that's really good when he's on at spreading the ball around. And so everything felt just smooth with the way that they were able to play. And I think that is something that translates moving forward here to these future games and throughout the course of the remainder of the season. Absolutely, without a doubt, 100%.
808 KNBR 415-808-5627, the number to call and the number to text. We'd love to hear from the faithful about level of excitement, or are you saying this is a bit of fool's gold? 512 on the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line checks in and says, hey, I don't want to be a wet blanket. I'm thrilled with the win, but I'm trying to figure out how much of this game was fool's gold. The Cardinals' performance was one of the worst I've seen all season for any team, and the 49ers won. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Time of possession, 34-26. We did talk about that at the top a little bit, 512. That time of possession, I think, is deceiving based on the Niners going up 7-0 in the first 16 seconds of the game, right? The game starts with the Niners going up. Then immediately the Cardinals come back, and they kick it back to the Niners. They punt it back after a 5-play, 12-yard performance, right? The Niners then come back, and within 5 plays, they go 70 yards for another touchdown. So they not only had a 16-second scoring drive, they had another quick drive right after that where they went 70 yards on 5 plays. They say total yards 488 to 281, right? But in total yards, that's scrimmage yards, correct, JD? You don't get the return yards piled into that. So if you tack back on another 98 yards, that looks a little bit different in the yardage totals, right?
Well, and the other thing that happens, too, is when you get a bunch of penalties and you get set back and you gain those yards back, that can pad your yardage stats. That's
the other thing, too, is it was a terrible penalty game for Arizona. Again, you pointed out at the top of the show, this was one of the worst penalty games of all time. 17 penalties for 130 yards. So, yeah, we can say it's fool's gold, some of it, maybe the point totals. But the Niners also took advantage of every opportunity they were given, which good teams do. Teams that know how to score and have an operating offense know how to do. They took advantage of the game. They put the game away. They took advantage of a scoring opportunity at the end of the first half. They also picked off Jacoby Brissett 2 times. And some people would say, well, Jacoby's not a good quarterback. Jacoby's a backup quarterback. Jacoby, prior to that Malik Mustafa interception, had thrown 168 consecutive passes without a pick. I thought he was going to get sacked a couple of times today, not that he was going to throw 2 interceptions.
Yeah, totally. But they made him uncomfortable enough, I thought, with some of the coverage, some of the play. I mean, the play that Lenore made was a great play on the ball, and not a great throw from Brissett. And Malik Mustafa, that was like an overthrow that Mustafa was basically waiting back there in center field for. So the Niners' ability to kind of play coverage and be able to without maybe pressure, be able to force some of those turnovers, I think is definitely not something that you would have believed that they would have been capable of doing. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think Jacoby Brissett's he's a nice quarterback. Like I think he's one of those guys.
He's a vet.
Fringe.
He's a veteran quarterback. Is kind of what he is to me.
He's a fringe starter. He's a fringe starter, right? He's probably good enough to be a starter for, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 teams.
He's a bridge quarterback,
in a given year.
That's kind of how I see him, yeah.
But he's also a really, I think he's really an excellent backup. Like that's probably what if you have Jacoby Brissett as your backup, that's a really damn good backup.
Yeah,
but he's not really a guy you want to be your starter. Otherwise, you're probably gonna be on a team that's not meeting expectations.
To that end, JD, I mean, you look at his football card. I think he's been on 4 teams in 4 years or 5 teams in 5 years or something like that. Like he's bounced around because he's been a great serviceable backup, and he can start in stretches like this for you, and he can keep a team afloat if need be. I would say to that 512 texter who's saying, is it a little bit of fool's gold? I don't think you're throwing a wet blanket on this. I would say you're kind of taking it for what it is. That the 49ers played well against a team that is inferior to them, is missing their starting quarterback. They don't have their number 1 receiver. James Conner went down in that week 3 game against the 49ers, so they've been patching together a backfield, and they played as sloppy of a game as you could have played. 11 penalties in the first half, 130 yards total on 17 penalties for the game. Yeah, they ran a lot of plays and picked up a lot of yards because they were playing from 2 to 3 scores behind. I mean, the Niners' numbers last week looked comparable to that of the Rams in total yardage and plays and whatnot, but that's because they were trying to get back in it, and they had to sort of scramble to do so. What I would point out is the Niners had 8 scoring drives and 11 real drive opportunities. The last drive was sitting on it to put it away. They put together 8 scoring drives today.
And here's the other thing I would say as it relates to opponent and how you play against a certain opponent and does it translate and all that. Who cares? Like, honestly, who cares? They played a team that's in a bad way right now, and they dominated the game in a bunch of different ways and blew them out. The story of this 49ers team, does that mean they're more capable of beating Indy, or they're more capable of beating Seattle at the end, or they're more capable of winning a playoff game against somebody? Maybe not, honestly. But if they are capable of playing like they did today against this team and next week against Carolina, and they can beat the Browns and handle business against the Titans, and guess what? This team's probably going to the playoffs. So I think given all of the guys that are out and the story of this 49ers team season, the ability to show up and win a bunch of these games as they have, considering the adversity that they've gone through, for me personally, and I know a lot of people disagree, the standard is the standard, especially considering the recent years where this team has gone to NFC Championship games and gone to Super Bowls and come up a little bit short in those games. This team, in my mind, is not held to that standard. Sure, you want to do it, but I just don't think on paper this team is good enough to make that kind of a run, but that's okay. They are very much good enough to still win 10 or 11 games and get into the playoffs. So I don't much care if it's, they did this or that to this bad opponent or this mid opponent. The story of this season for the 49ers may wind up being the fact that they were able to beat all of the mid and bad teams after all of the injuries and weren't able to beat the good teams. But you know what? That's okay. That's not a failure of a season. In fact, I think it's a tremendous success when you look at this season overall.
I think you can make a case. It's one of, I'd say, a top 2 performance by Kyle Shanahan's coaching prowess in his career as 49ers head coach. I mean, look at all the injuries to the roster. The other one that comes to mind, and we were talking about it with Matt Mayoko last week, was the 2021 season where they're 3-5. They're losing. They lost like their top 2 or 3 running backs, and then here comes Debo in the wide back situation, and Elijah Mitchell worked his way back, but they were losing games and starting Trey Sermon back there at one point. It's what he was able to do that year to get him to an NFC title game, despite the injuries this year, a much different looking situation, but also the offense is looking very healthy right now. And Brock had a pretty clean day in the pocket as well. We'll talk more about this with our guy Larry Krueger, who's going to join us coming up next. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. The Niners win at 41-22, 808 KNBR. Are we sure Brock doesn't elevate the play of the guys around him? We'll talk to Krueger about it next on the Sports Leader.
41-22 the final score, 49ers over the Cardinals, and we're going to get another player. It's George Kittle. He had 2 touchdowns here today. Must have felt pretty good to get Brock Purdy back out there.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking to you.
Oh, my goodness. I do love Brock Purdy. I mean, how about that pass in the first quarter? Just finding me right at the front pylon. Gosh, what a pretty ball by Mr. Brock Purdy.
What a beautiful ball by Mr. Brock Purdy. George.
There you go. George Kittle hyped to have his QB Brock Purdy back. He looks good today. Did George Kittle, to a tune of 6 catches, 2 touchdowns, 67 yards for the 49er tight end. A high water mark of 41 points today as they sweep Arizona, guarantee themselves a winning record in the NFC West. How about that? Joining us here is Larry Krueger. You hear him and watch him and listen to him on Niners Nightly, The Krug Show, your 49ers preview on the weekends. Krug, what's going on, man? Pretty good win for the Niners today.
Oh, great one. 41 points on the road with your quarterback who hasn't played in a while. And, it was really a nice win. It was good to see the defense get some turnovers. But I'll tell you, the moment I was thrilled for Sky Moore. Had a long conversation with Sky this week at his locker. And we were just talking. I was just saying, hey, man, you're going to bust one. You're close, man. You're really close. And we talked about it. And I said, man, you go a million miles an hour. I go, sometimes you get blown up. He's like, I do get blown up. But he's got great enthusiasm. And you could tell on the All-22, there was a couple times where he was one guy away from a house call. Man, he got close to it today. But that was such a shot in the arm. I'm thrilled for him because he plays that position, which, man, you got to be a man to play that spot, man. You got to run full bore up the field. Guys are running full bore down at you. He shows no fear, no hesitance, just no fear at all. I mean, and he's not a big guy, but man, that was a great play. And I thought that was a great liftoff for the game.
And it seems like Krug, he's more comfortable as his tenure with the 49ers has gone on. It seems like he's protecting the football a little better, right? That was a problem for him in Kansas City. It was a problem. He had some loose handles early on. I feel like he's hanging onto the rock a little bit better too, which only gives him an opportunity to use that explosiveness because he is a talent. I mean, that's the one thing. Like when they picked him up, a lot of people kind of laughed because his tenure in Kansas City was less than spectacular, to say the least. But he is somebody that has some talent, and to where if he could keep from putting the ball on the ground, could make some big plays on special teams.
And that was another thing that we talked about. I'm like, when you do get blown up, I go, I played football at the high school level, and I just remember when you got hit that it was hard to keep your hands on the ball. It's just your natural thing is to kind of release your hands. And I said, how do you fight that? Because, I mean, some of the hits that you're taking are big hits. And yet, it's a bad situation if you take a big hit. It's a disaster situation if you take a big hit and fumble. And he said, you got to think of 3 points of contact. He's like, what I do is I try to bring the ball into me at contact. So I have 3 points of contact and I have it nestled against my body, because he said, the tendency is to kind of open your arms. So he kind of focuses on closing them right at the point he gets hit. I thought that was kind of interesting, but yeah, you're right, JD. I mean, if this guy can just take care of the football, he's going to be a huge shot in the arm for them the rest of the way.
I mean, we talked to Krug about how the offense needed to carry the defense. They did so to a tune of 41 points. They had 8 scoring drives today, and they took advantage of virtually every opportunity they were given, either from their defense or decision-making by Arizona. The field goal attempt, I thought, on the Cardinals' third drive was ill-advised, and the Niners ended up with good field position and made them pay for it. Got another touchdown out of it to Christian McCaffrey. I don't want to come down hard on the defense because, again, they held them to 22 points. The Niners win the game, but a lot of yards given up. Yards don't always equal points, and, of course, Jacoby's throwing a bunch because they're playing from behind. But we did see Nick Martin out there. Just your evaluation of the defense today. Outside of the 3 turnovers they forced, the 2 picks in big situations and the fumble that they forced. But what do you think of the defense in general, and are you seeing any growth?
I mean, it's a young defense with a lot of young players who are going to get better, and it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Great play, terrible play. Great play, awful play. You know what I mean? It's going to be that kind of thing just because or great coverage, blanketed coverage. And then the next coverage, Jair Brown's 7 yards behind the guy. And it seems like it's his guy making the catch. So it's going to be maddening. It's going to be frustrating. But I think, one of the interesting things coming out of this game is that Brock Purdy can do so many things at the line of scrimmage. He knows the offense better than Mac Jones. He could probably coach the offense. And so he got them into a couple of, he can recognize mismatches at the line and audible, and he just knows the offense better. And I thought he did it 3 times. He did it one to Kittle on that deep touchdown. He did it once to Juszczyk on a pass play, another to CMC, where he audibled at the line. And you see all kinds of movement. 3 or 4 guys are moving, and all of a sudden, he's got an isolation, with a one-on-one that he realized was there. So I'm eager to see what the defense looks like when they can put up points like this, because that's a big part of it. I don't know that the defense, is a defense is always going to be helped by an offense that can score like this 49er offense scored today. So I think it will have a different dynamic. I think Shanahan realized that, hey, look, with all the injuries on defense, as good as Jones is, we got to get Purdy back in there, because we got to get back from scoring 20 points a game to scoring 30 points a game if we're really going to have a chance to get on a run and win a bunch of these games and go to the playoffs. And, it was exactly what the doctor ordered.
The other big takeaway for me on Purdy, and we were talking about it, Krug, is he looked healthy. He sailed his first ball toward the sideline, and then he hit Jennings on the 3rd and 8 for 25. Then, as you mentioned, he changed the play and just threw an absolute dime to Kittle for that 30-yard touchdown there that put the 49ers up 13-0. But what did you think of him physically? I thought, one miss on that first throw, and then he looked pretty dialed in and pretty healthy. What did you see as far as just kind of watching the footwork, watching the arm strength, some of those things we discussed in the pregame hit?
Yeah, first of all, on the first throw, I think that was intentional. I think he saw that the guy in the flat was covered, and he just said, "I'm throwing this one away."
Just dumped it.
Well, because it was so much velocity on that ball. It was so far over his head. It might have been. He might have just sailed it, but I don't think so. I think he saw the guy was covered and threw that one away. We were having that debate in the room watching it. So at first I thought what you thought. I thought, God, man, he airmailed that terribly. And my 15-year-old said, Dad, that he was throwing that away. And we watched it again. And the 15-year-old was right. What can I say? But yeah, I thought his arm strength at times looked really good. There were a couple throws that were just ridiculously awful. There was one where he tried to get it to Pearsall where it was almost picked. Probably should have ran. He looked a little hesitant to run. And that's probably because he is hesitant to run. Probably because he knows. He said making plays from the pocket. He talked about it this week. He's like, when I'm in the pocket and I'm just making plays in the pocket, I don't really feel it. It's when I got to get out of the pocket and I got to really run and take off. That's where I start to feel it. So I think there's a very good chance, guys, that Purdy is going to be less of a runner the rest of the year. But overall, and I thought there were a couple throws that really were like, what? That one that stayed up in the air to McCaffrey, like for an eternity.
Yeah.
That was just such a loopy pass into coverage, defenders around. You don't want to throw with that kind of loop. That couldn't have been his intent. So I think we're going to see some arm strength issues from time to time. If he can't set his feet, I think we're going to see some hesitancy to run at times. But we're also going to see a guy that can really get you into some advantageous positions at the line of scrimmage, and I think we saw it.
Larry Krueger, the voice you hear all week long on Niners Nightly 6 to 7, and he's filling in for me tomorrow with Derek Papa 2 to 6 on Dirty Work. So, Krug, have fun getting dirty with Derek, and we'll talk to you this week, bro.
Sounds good, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, man. Nice win by the 49ers today, 41-22. Let's get you the injury report sponsored by Habas Law. They'll fight to make it right. Visit habaslaw.com. JD, I may need a little bit of help from you here on the injury report. Here's what I've got.
I got a bunch of them.
Well, here's what I've got. And that's Tatum Bethune left the game in the second quarter. Looked like he was like writhing in pain for a while. He left with an ankle injury. To my knowledge, he did not return, correct?
Yeah, Tatum Bethune did not return, and he was he got a lift to the bus. I think it was Matt Lively of Channel 5 was saying he got a lift to the bus on on a cart, and he was wearing a brace. Not like on a cart like his season's over, that kind of thing. You
like
get
a golf
carted off the
cart or
field,
something,
but
so he
just
could get a little ride.
just so he could get exactly
Too far
just
of a
get little
walk.
ride to the. Exactly, too far of a walk, but I guess he had some kind of brace on it, not a boot, but some kind of a brace on it. So yeah, he did not return in this game, which led to a lot of time for Curtis Robinson, and then Curtis Robinson ended up injured.
Curtis Robinson goes down
He
in the
was
third quarter. Luke
yeah.
Gifford comes into the game for him, but then did Robinson come back into the game?
Robinson was evaluated for a concussion and cleared, and then was able to return to the game.
Okay, and then Upton Stout at one point in the first half was out of the game with a stinger, but he came back to the game.
He came back into the game and laid that hit at the goal line that helped cause the fumble with Robinson, who came back in the game.
He came back into the game as well. And I think even at one
so
point,
both guys who had come back forced that fumble.
Yeah, I think at one point Gifford limped off in the fourth, then Robinson came back in for Luke Gifford even. Robert Beal left at one point in the first half to be evaluated for a concussion. What was his result?
Yeah, he was deemed to have a concussion, so he's ruled out and now is in the concussion protocol.
Okay, and then Eddie Pinheiro, a hamstring injury. He was questionable to return, did not return. The Niners were up so big they went for 2 at the end of the game. But what are they thinking with Eddie Pinheiro and the hamstring? And is there anything else I'm missing?
Yeah, hamstring, and I believe, and we can check the tape or have Kyle check the tape, but I believe from listening to the press conference, Kyle Shanahan did say that he thought he pulled it a little bit, so that would not necessarily bode well, but no official timeline or anything discussed. But I think he used the word pulled, which obviously wouldn't be good. That would be at least a couple few weeks.
Well, they do get a little bit extra time here with a Monday night game, their next game. We're a little bit behind here. Let's take a quick break. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627, the number to call and the number to text. You feeling any better about the Niners ceiling and their playoff hopes this year? Brock Purdy returns and was sharp. They did get beaten like almost every statistical category, but that was because they took advantage of every short field that they were to get throughout this game. 8 scoring drives. They win the turnover battle 3-0. All in all, as JD said at the top of the show, they were the more buttoned-up team today, and they'll take on a young team in the Carolina Panthers next week. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627, the number to call and to text. The Niners win at 41-22 on the Sports Leader.
Under center, Purdy. Toss play to McCaffrey. To the right side. Cuts back left. Weaves his way into the end zone. Not once, not twice, but thrice for McCaffrey. Touchdown, 49ers.
We'll make Christian McCaffrey our player of the game today. Player of the game, by the way, is sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly. His performance today, Christian McCaffrey, another vintage performance. 13 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns, had 5 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. Again, he leads all players in the NFL in scrimmage yards, exiting his performance in Week 11. And with just a couple of games left, Sunday Night Football underway right now, and still a Monday night game tomorrow. But he's got 1,439 total scrimmage yards and his 74 receptions, second in the NFL behind only Jamar Chase. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. I think we got to throw some love real quick, JD, also at George Kittle for our player of the game. His performance today, 6 catches, 67 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Did you see this note about him in franchise history for the Niners? His second touchdown was his 50th career touchdown reception. He becomes the third Niner player in history with 500 receptions and 50 touchdowns. He joins Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens. Unbelievable. Pretty incredible for an all-time great.
All-time great, and I mean he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean he's on track to be a Hall of Fame tight end if he continues his career at the level that he's been at. And those are 3 unbelievable names all together, and for George to be lined up with Jerry Rice and T.O., pretty spectacular, and to do it at the tight end position as well. I mean those 2 guys were all-time great wide receivers, and you've got now an all-time great tight end. That's been just he's seemingly getting better with age also, and to see the connection back with him and Brock Purdy, it was something special today.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I think he does elevate the play of guys around him. Does Brock Purdy? We'll take a quick break. We got more to come. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. Would love to hear from the faithful. 41-22. Do you think the 49ers offense is capable of being a top 10 offense with the return of Brock Purdy? We'll do it next on The Sports Leader.
Yeah, he was vintage Brock. Yeah, I mean, and that's a huge compliment. You know, he was poised, made some great plays, made some huge third down throws, throwing the ball on time, not making bad decisions. You know, just being a great quarterback. Kept us in the game, was smart the whole game. To miss games like that is really hard, and to come back in the middle of the year, you know, I think people kind of just watch, you're like, oh, you know, he had a good game, whatever, but to be out that long and to come in and do what he did today is extremely impressive.
That's Christian McCaffrey talking about the return of Brock Purdy. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. The Niners win at 41-22. They're 7-4 now, by the way, on the season, and just one loss here at 4-1 in the NFC West. By the way, if you're keeping tabs on what's going on around the NFC West, the Rams beat the Seahawks today, 21-19, the final in that one. The Seahawks had a deep field goal chance to try to win it at the end of that game when the clock hit 0, and they did not get it to the Rams win it, and they remain the best team in the NFC West. Let's go out to the phone lines, JD, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's go to Rick in Hayward. Rick in Hayward, you're on the Sports Leader. What's up, dude?
Not much. I'm glad that Brock was able to come back and play this team.
Yeah.
This team is about as bad can get. I don't know how you can grade anything off this win. The 17 penalties, I think somebody on the TV said that's the most penalties the Arizona Cardinals have had since 1976.
Holy crap.
130 yards off of 17 penalties. And I don't know how many scoring drives that helped out. I just don't think this was a true test for this team at all. You look at, if they want to make the playoffs, they're going to need to win 11 games, at least, I think. I don't see how 10 wins is going to do it, especially the way that the Seahawks played the Rams today. They played them pretty good. And, those two teams are ahead of, we're ahead of the Seahawks now. But, we still have to play the Seahawks at the end of the year. So I don't know. I wasn't impressed. I mean, yeah, we scored 42 points. Defense was good on turnovers. The special teams were good, but they gave up 452 yards in offense.
Rick, I think 10 wins can do it because of what the 49ers tiebreak status is right now. Because they've guaranteed a 4-2 record at worst in division, and their conference record is through the roof. Now, common opponents could come into play. I'm with you, like 11 guarantees it, I think. But 10 wins, I think they'd be certainly in the mix. The Bears game is going to be a significant one near the end of the year. I think some of those could be crucial. The Seahawks one for sure. I mean, if you beat Seattle at the end of the year, I think 10 wins absolutely does it. But you don't want to have to win that one. But I think 10, just because of what they've done in the NFC and because their division record is going to be the first tiebreak, they're in pretty good shape to win a tiebreak.
But Adam, do you think if this were the Carolina Panthers today, that this score would have been 41-22?
I don't know, man. We'll see on Monday. I honestly don't really know. And this kind of what I mean by all year. It feels like it's one game at a time for this team. Like it's really about how they match up week to week. I don't really care about what it would have been if it was somebody else. I care that they handled business the way they should against a team that, to your point, is bad and inferior. Like if they had played average or as badly as they did against them in week 3, I'd be like, boy, things are way worse. I'm encouraged because they're clearly not as bad as Arizona. They're not as bad as a team that has lost a bunch of games by one score. And the Niners haven't really been in any tight games like that. So I'm with you. I don't think they're with the upper echelon teams like the Rams. But I do think if we're talking about the number of wins, they're at 7 with 6 games to play now. I think 10 wins could get you in based on how they got their 7.
So, okay, if you're thinking that way, do you think the Niners have then a chance at winning, getting to the conference finals?
As currently constructed with this defense, I don't believe they're a conference championship caliber team. No, I'm with you there. Because it's about to me, the 3 wins to get to 10, like it's all about, that's why it's hard to ask, like, does Brock change your win total? For me, it's like, does he add more points to your total? Because it's about, can the offense be better? I don't have a lot of confidence in the defense, man. That's why I'm like, I can't imagine they're that deep of a playoff run team because they're going to see so many better offenses and quarterbacks. And if Jacoby's doing this, I do have concerns about Bryce Young on Monday. He just threw for over 400. I appreciate the call, Rick. We do got to run, but I don't. The defense is what gives me pause. JD, is that where you are?
Yeah, I mean, with all the injuries, I just don't think they have a good defense. I think they're doing the best they can with what they have. They gave up over 400 yards today. I mean, almost 500 yards today. Now, they did have turnovers, and the offense played well, and the opponent that they played, I think, was incapable of truly making them pay at the level that another team would. But that being said, I do think 10 gets it done. If the 10, and now you're already at 7, I mean, to me, it's you got to beat the Panthers and you got to beat the Bears. I think those are the two that you need to, that gets you to 9, and those are two, I think, because those two teams are going to be in the race with you and already are currently in the race with you. I kind of throw Seattle out because it's at the end, and I do think Seattle is a better team currently than the 49ers are. But you know what? Sam Darnold, it's a big game today for Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold's not played well. They look like the best team in the NFC, I think, for the last month. They were on everybody's radar today, and Sam Darnold's throwing multiple picks and kind of looked like the Sam Darnold at the final couple of games of his Minnesota Vikings tenure. So we'll set that one aside. But, yeah, I just think week to week the defense could give up a ton of points and get shredded in any individual game, and that can be the reason that you lose to anybody. That being said, though, I think they can beat Carolina, and I think they will beat Carolina. I think the Browns game is going to be tough because their defense plays well at home, but I think that's a game they can get, and Tennessee's one you're absolutely going to have to get. To me, it's more about you could almost get in by week 17 if you handle business here these next 3, plus win the Bears game. And at that point, I mean, if you're able to do that, you're at 11. You're at 11 there. If you can get the Panthers game, that's 8. The Browns game's 9. The Titans game's 10. The Bears game would be 11. That would be that's how you get to 11, and you don't even have to beat Indy if you think you need 11. You don't even have to beat Seattle if you know to get to that point. If you handle business in these other games, do the Niners do that? I would probably bet that there's one of these games that we're banking as not banking, but we're counting as games that they can win and should. But I think they can get all but maybe one of them. And if you do that, you get 10, and I think you got a great shot.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I haven't seen them go on a run like that or a streak like that. So I think that remains to be seen that they're capable. They have been able to sort of stifle the losing streaks. They haven't lost 2 in a row, but they're going like win, win, loss. They're trying to put a couple together here. So we'll see if they can do that with a win against Carolina. The 11 is on the table. We both were talking, by the way, about Cleveland being a tough game on the road, body clock game. Jim Schwartz owns Kyle Shanahan. The Niners haven't won in Cleveland since the 80s. If Shedeur Sanders is under center, I'm feeling good about it. We'll take a quick – he did play today. We'll take a quick break when we come on back to drive of the game. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. We'll do that next. Niners beat the Cardinals 41-22 on the Sports Leader.
Purdy doesn't like what he sees. He'll call a different play here. Adjust Juszczyk right into the boundary. Ball set on the right hash. Shotgun snap, 5-man rush for Purdy. Steps up into the pocket, throws a deep ball downfield. Kittle makes the catch over the shoulder. Near pile on into the end zone. Touchdown 49ers.
That was Brock Purdy's first touchdown pass of the game. It came in the first quarter on the Niners' second drive of the game to George Kittle. Will make that the drive of the game, sponsored by El Cerrito Honda. More than just a car dealership, we're family. That's the drive of the game, a 30-yard touchdown pass from Brock Purdy to George Kittle. At the time, that made it 13-0 49ers, that 30-yard grab after a 25-yard grab on third down by Juwan Jennings. A 5-play, 70-yard touchdown drive was capped by that TD pass to George Kittle. By the way, I saw that there are now 22 touchdown passes between Purdy and Kittle. I think that's up there all time for 49ers tight ends and quarterbacks.
Yeah, they've been absolutely locked in together during their tenure with the San Francisco 49ers, and it was on full display again today. And again, I think it's another one of these things that gives you the optimism that the offense can continue to flourish here over these next few games. They've got a really good chance. I know we were kind of texting during the break a little bit. They've got a shot at winning these next 3 games. None of them are locks, but Carolina at home, you get the extra day, and you play the Panthers, who've been a frisky, pesky kind of a team. But I think there's going to be a lot of juice in Levi's for a Monday night game. There always is for those primetime matchups. Then you go to Cleveland. And, yeah, Shedeur Sanders really struggled when he got the opportunity to play today against the Ravens. The Ravens came back and beat the Browns. Browns were up most of the afternoon in that one. And then you get the bye week and Tennessee. I mean, could this team be 10-4? You don't want to get ahead of yourself. You don't want to get greedy. You do want to get greedy if you're the Niners. But it is one game at a time in individual matchups. But they've got a shot here to be 10-4, I feel like, going into that final home stretch with 3 games to go.
Well, Carolina won the game today. They were trailing 21-14, but it's going to be 21-10 at the half. They scored 21 second-half points themselves to come back and beat Atlanta, whose defense is pesky. 30-27 was the final. Bryce Young in that game, by the way, threw for over 400 yards against that defense. 31-45, 448, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The thing that Carolina does well generally is they run the ball well. And they didn't do that all that effectively today. Just Rico Dowdle, 19 for 45. He did have 55 more yards through the air, but they do have some speed on the outside. They do have a quarterback who's more apt at finding open receivers now than he was in the first couple of years, and they're humming a little bit. They're playing with some confidence. It'll be 7-4 against 6-5. This team thinks that they're capable of going to the postseason, and if they think they're capable, and they think that they don't know any better. I mean, they're coming in to face a team that's one of the class organizations of the NFL. They'd love nothing more than their opportunity on a Monday Night Football to have an edge on the 49ers and would win a head-to-head tiebreak against them if you've got the same record there at the end of the season. So intriguing stuff Monday night. Who thought this game was going to have juice? Carolina and the Niners. Monday Night Football, 7-4 against 6-5.
It's one of those that really make you think that maybe the NFL, the schedule makers got the script ahead of time, because that was one that in May you think, wait a minute, that game's on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make sense at all, and it winds up being a really good game. The other one was the Bears game in December, which is on Sunday Night Football, the weekend after Christmas, and that was one.
They're 7-3 are the Bears. How about that?
And the Bears are 7-3. They won again today.
A walk-off field goal.
Game.
Yeah.
Blew it in the fourth quarter. They were up 13, I believe, going to the fourth quarter in Minnesota. Remember, Minnesota early in the season came back, had a huge fourth quarter in Chicago to beat the Bears. I think it was opening night, the first Monday night game of the year in Chicago. And McCarthy went off and played great in the fourth quarter there. Minnesota does it again to them in the fourth quarter, but the Bears have enough time to go down, kick the field goal, and win the game there in walk-off fashion in Minneapolis. But, yeah, the one thing also to keep in mind, just looking at the current standings, the Niners still are 8th. They are still the first team out at 7-4
right,
as things currently sit here. Because Seattle's played one fewer game, so they're still 7-3 at this point, even with the defeat that they took today. So you're still in this mix with Green Bay, Detroit, Seattle, Tampa right now is fallen to the 4 seed as the 4th division leader. The Bears currently, and we'll see what happens tonight with Detroit and
Philadelphia.
With Detroit and Philadelphia going at it tonight on Sunday Night Football. But the Bears currently are 3rd. If the Lions win that game, then they would move back in front of the Bears. The Bears would drop down into that mix at the bottom in the 6-7 spots there with Green Bay. But to me it's the Bears. When I look at the 7 teams that are in, and the Niners are right now the first team out, Copes, it's the Bears. That's the spot you need to think about taking if you're the Niners. I don't think you can get the Rams spot or the Eagles spot or Tampa or even Seattle or Detroit or Green Bay, but I think the Bears is the one that you can pluck away, and you have the head-to-head matchup, and you got to make sure you keep Carolina off your back as they sit just a game behind the Niners as that next team out at 9th right now in the NFC.
Some juicy games here for the Niners at the end of the year. They get a little extra time off here, but so does Carolina before they come to town next Monday. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. We'll get you the call of the game, and then we will sign off next and get you ready for the last 3 quarters of Sunday Night Football. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. The Niners win it 41-22 on the Sports Leader.
4:45 to play in the third. Brissett fakes the give, drops to throw, looking to his right, flushed, pursued by Okuwano, throws, picked off by Lenore. He's bringing it back down the far side, gets a block from the 45-yard line, now to the 50, cuts back at the 40, another block, sweeps past a man,
Go,
to the
Debo,
35,
go!
reversing field, down to the 20-yard line, another block, spins, falls at the 18-yard line.
Love hearing it. Go, Devo, go! Devo Lenore, the second interception of the game for the 49er defense. We'll make that the call of the game, sponsored by Merit America. This super opportunity is brought to you by Merit America. Go to meritamerica.org/super and sign up now. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. That was 2 interceptions today for the 49ers. Last time they had 2 picks in a game was week 7 of last year against the Kansas City Chiefs. Kalia Davis had a pick, as did Demo Lenore in that game against Patrick Mahomes. Unfortunately, Brock threw 3 interceptions in that game, and Chiefs kind of ran the Niners off the field. I think it was 4 rushing touchdowns that day for the Kansas City rushing attack. That's going to do it for us here on the 49ers postgame wrap here as the Niners win at 41-22. I'll be back with you, JD will too, next Monday, a week from tomorrow, for your pregame show for the Niners and the Carolina Panthers, Monday Night Football, 2 p.m. That's the week of Thanksgiving. We'll be with you. Myself, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler, and JD will be a part of that broadcast where the Niners come on home for some Monday Night Football. I'll be off tomorrow. Larry Krueger with Derek tomorrow for Dirty Work. And then, JD, you have a programming announcement, don't you?
Yeah, as well. Just no Dubs OT tonight with the Warriors playing during the Niner game and during our post game. Looks like they're gonna get a win against the Pelicans coming up in New Orleans. So we'll be back Tuesday after the Warriors take on the Magic, and then Wednesday after the Warriors take on the Miami Heat. And I'm also going to be with Greg Silver tomorrow for the final hour of Papa and Silver. So looking forward to that. And then, again, back on Tuesday with Dubs OT.
Good deal. I will talk to everybody again on Tuesday. Derek and Krug tomorrow. And, of course, the Murph and Marcus Morning Show tomorrow morning from Kona, Hawaii. Make sure you're locked in right here on The Sports Leader for all your 49er talk throughout the week. We're going to throw you over to Sunday Night Football. Eagles lead it right now in the second quarter. It's 3-0 in favor of Philadelphia. It looks like they just turned over the Detroit Lions right now, 7-2 against 6-3. So a good Sunday Night Football NFC matchup. Thanks to Anthony Garcia, our sound editor today, as well as Kyle Chung, Raf Corral, and Tim Webb, who is on assignment. Had Kyle Haar in for him today, doing the producing and the board work. For John Dickinson, Adam Copeland signing off, where the 49ers have beaten the Arizona Cardinals 41-22. The sports continue, only here on The Sports Leader.
Go, Debo, go!